Hey, do you have $8? Do you want to spend that money on Twitter? I'm going to assume no, because you don't seem like an idiot. Some people think you should spend $8 a month on Twitter, which is just dumb. How about you spend that money on something better, like video games? In fact, I'm here to tell you about 12 awesome games that you can buy right now on the Nintendo Switch eShop for less than $8 a pop. That's one game for every month of the year, and you'll still have more money than you would if you dropped it on Twitter. Normally when I do lists like this, I have a bunch of rules and stuff for what is or isn't eligible, but I really only have one. The game has to cost less than $8. None of that, oh, you can get it for less than $8 if you wait for it to go on sale stuff. These are all games that you can buy right now for under $8. Unless you're watching this in the future and any of these games got taken off the shop, but that's a whole other issue. Let's get started. If you own a Nintendo Switch, there's probably at least a couple of 2D platformers that you're a fan of, and one of my personal favorites is Nihilumbra. Each screen acts as a sort of miniature puzzle, and you can decorate the landscape with colors to solve them. Blue lets you build up momentum for bigger jumps, brown lets you stick to surfaces, and so on. Nihilumbra is atmospheric, engaging, and has a decent narrative spread throughout it. I highly recommend it for people who like this type of game. From 2D platformer to 3D platformer, I'm always ready to recommend Toree 3D to anyone who's willing to listen. This is a fairly simple linear collectathon, but the replayability and challenge comes from harnessing your inner speedrunner. At only 99 cents, it's really easy to recommend giving this one a try. And hey, if you end up wanting more, you can also get Toree 2 for an additional 99 cents. That's 2 games for the price of 2. But, you know, I mean, each one is a very fair price. Downwell is one of the most addictive gaming experiences I've ever had. This is a fast-paced vertical platformer where you're falling down and breaking stuff and you have gun boots and every run is different. And even though I've still never beaten this game, I have fun every single time I boot it up. The graphics and mechanics are simple but executed incredibly well, and it's more than worth the price of admission here. Are you a fan of that old image instructing people not to pour orange juice on their Nintendo Wii? Well, imagine an entire wacky puzzle game seemingly based on that art style. Mom Hid My Game is all about finding your video game without accidentally finding Mom first. It starts out simple, but gets more delightfully ludicrous as it goes on. The game maintains its charm throughout its 50 levels, and if you find yourself wanting more, there is a sequel on the Nintendo eShop. But unlike with Toree 3D, I can't recommend both in this video, because that would bring the cost over $8. Hey, real quick, if you like what I'm doing here, please consider subscribing to the channel. It honestly does help out a lot and motivates me to keep making videos. Thank you. Running a kingdom is hard, but Reign's Kings and Queens managed to simplify it down to a swipe left or right system that's easy enough for anyone to understand. Balance the 4 primary powers as the king or queen and make choices in this charming title. Reigns is simple, it's funny, and has a lot of replay value. So go put on your favorite cardboard fast food crown and see how long you can last. If you search online for great eShop games for low prices, you'll probably see a lot of recommendations for Doom, Doom 2, and Doom 64. Those are all worthwhile choices, but let's mix things up a bit and remember that you can play Chex Quest HD. Yes, the nostalgic Doom clone from the 90s that we used to get free with our cereal is now available in full HD on modern hardware. Take control of the Chex Warrior and let's zort some phlegmoids. That sounds messy. I'm an absolute sucker for old Game Boy aesthetics. I love that weird greenish yellow grello, and Squidlit is an adorable little platformer specifically created to capture all the charm and even limitations of a Game Boy title. This is not a very long 2D platforming journey, but it's a consistently fun and adorable little adventure throughout. There is also Super Squidlit, but that one costs more than $8. What comes after is less of a game and more of an experience. There really is no challenge here. You play as a young woman named Vivi who finds herself on a subway train headed toward the afterlife. You go from car to car, speaking to other passengers, learning their stories, and getting a bit of insight into their own views on life and death. I don't want to bring this video down too much, but the creator of this game and a good friend of mine, Mohammed Fahmy, sadly passed away earlier this year, and I have to say that playing this game after that fact really makes it hit home even more. He was a talented dev, a wonderful person, and I thank him for his friendship and for the great games that he has given us. I feel games like this are normally a one-and-done kind of deal, but I can't lie, I have come back to what comes after multiple times. Moving on, the next game I want to highlight is Fingun. Were you a fan of those wacky, over-the-top horizontal shooters like Parodius or Choaniki? If so, then you're gonna love Fingun. The game is essentially a boss rush where you take control of the titular Fingun and fight off lewd anime girls and sometimes not lewd anime girls. The game is full of wacky designs, humorous symbolism, and it's just a pretty fun little shooter. I know the developer is currently working on a sequel that seems like it's going to be even bigger, so be on the lookout for that too. A short hike, based on the title, may sound like a standard walking simulator, but it's actually a very charming game about exploration. Your only real goal in this game is to reach the highest point of the island so you can try to make a phone call. However, how you get up there and how long it takes is entirely up to you, as there are multiple ways to accomplish this. The game is cute, the characters are charming, and I love the aesthetics of this game. It reminds me of the sort of thing we'd see back on the original DS. But it's on the Switch. I've said before on this channel how much I love farming games like Harvest Moon or Stardew Valley, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that I'm including one of those on this list. Bit Orchard Animal Valley has you controlling this little Ash Ketchum looking dude and running an apple orchard. There's this simplistically charming Game Boy aesthetic, which I've already said that I love, and you always have a handy list of goals to work toward. It's obviously not as in-depth as some of the bigger farming games out there, but if you're a fan of this genre, it's worth checking out. The game does have some paid DLC that pushes it over the $8 mark if you choose to get that, but you do still get a perfectly solid experience with the base game. And the last game I want to talk about today is actually the most recent title, as it only came out in October. Hazelnut Hex has you playing as a witch on a spoon on an epic quest to save breakfast. The premise alone already makes it worth it, but this is another horizontal shooter that has a lot of great designs and a fantastic use of color. I fully admit that I suck at it because I am not good at these kind of shooters, but this is still a really fun time. Alright, and there you go, one game that'll cost you less than $8 for every single month of the year. Heck, with both Toree games, I technically gave you enough for 13 months.
Lousy smarch weather.
I know there are a lot of other great titles in this price range, like some Dragon Quest games or Among Us, so instead of telling me what games I forgot to talk about, how about you just tell everyone some of your favorites in the comments below. Thank you for joining me on this fun little adventure, and until next time, take care.